This is First Encounter, a podcast exploring both the foundations and the future of historical romance. Hello, everyone, and welcome to First Encounter. I am Andie James, a historical romance enthusiast and author, and I'm really excited today. I am joined by Devan, who some of you might know as Diagnosed Romantic in the wonderful social media world, Instagram. That's how I first got to know Devan, which is exciting. And we're discussing a very important book to the canon of historical romance classics, and that is Dreaming of You by Lisa Kleypas. So this was my first encounter with Derek Craven after having heard about him for years and years, because I am an avid Fated Mates listener. So Sarah and Jen, this one's for you. But so I'm very excited to talk about this today. But before we dive in, I do want to acknowledge that Devan is a very special person in terms of this podcast, because I've mentioned the origins of this podcast. The idea kind of came to me. I'm blushing. I know.
I'm blushing. I'm like putting my cold hands.
So gosh, it was like almost 2 years ago now, because it was
2 years ago.
April 2024. I read through The Wallflowers by Lisa Kleypas. It's a 4-book series. Many of you are familiar, but I read through those for the first time, and I was like, well, I want to read these, but I think it would be fun to do a thing with it because I'm new to it and they're so popular. And so I decided to do Instagram live chats discussing the books, and Devan was with me for all 4 books. And we had some great conversations. I mean, I've told this
so
story.
much fun.
Yeah, I told this story before, but I had so much fun with that like planted the idea of the podcast. And granted, it was like, more than a year and a half before I actually made this happen. But
I'm just so happy we could come back. When you announced you were doing this, I was like, I have to pitch something that's Lisa Kleypas, because that's how we connected, was through Lisa. So
exactly.
She's so dear to me.
So I'm so excited. So yeah, Devan was like, I have to be on. And I was like, well, I was about to reach out to you because you have to be on. Like, it was just, and because you've read every Lisa, and which we will talk about, but Devan is kind of a little Lisa expert. She's connected all the books. We will dive into that later in this episode. But I was like, we got to talk something Lisa. And so she suggested Dreaming of You, which is an important book to the Lisa Kleypas canon. We'll talk about why. And I was like, yes,
important
please.
To romance.
Important
Everything
to
afterwards.
Romance.
Important to the genre.
Very much so. So, well, why don't we start there? Why did you say this book, and why is it so important to both Lisa's overall works and the genre of historical romance?
Well, so, I mean, it is the beginning of everything that comes after this. Just about everything that comes after this, it has a connection back to this particular book, and it has the connection back. I mean, I think we'll go into this maybe later, but
Sure.
But the Matilda verse is something that I coined myself.
I love this.
I basically, because Matilda is the book that she wrote, and it becomes a play, and we keep seeing it over and over again through the rest of all of her books. And it is such a funny beginning of a connection for a universe. This morality tale about a prostitute, sex worker, that, all of that. And so, but the reason why Derek, so we're just going to get right into Derek.
We're going to
get,
I mean, I know I've said this before, but anytime we're doing a deep dive, spoiler alert, we are going to talk about this book. We're not going to pull any punches. So if you haven't read it and you don't want it to be spoiled, listen to this episode later after you've read it.
And I will say that there will be one small spoiler that I am going to say about Then Came You, which was the previous book in this series. So there is going to be one spoiler I'm going to say about that one as well. But we'll get to that. But this one, okay, so it is... Derek himself is so important because he was one of the very beginning and influential not aristocracy. So Lisa, I mean, I've listened to Fated Mates, but I dived into her before I even found the romance community around me. It was Julia Quinn and Lisa Kleypas were my first 2 romance authors. So she's
like gateway authors.
So deep in my soul, but he was the first working class hero.
Yes.
made his money himself. And not only is he a working class hero, but he was born in a drain pipe. He
Yeah.
had to do sex work in order to make his money. And so basically, and reason why I say with fated mates, because it's funny to talk about
Mhm.
this without bringing up fated mates because
You
they
have
are,
to. Yeah.
yeah, like they're the best.
So,
They,
for those of you who maybe need context, I'm assuming most of you listening understand this, but if not, so Fated Mates, as you know, is a huge romance podcast with Sarah McLean and Jen Prokop, who are wonderful. I love them both, but they adore Derek Craven, the hero of this book, Dreaming of
do
You.
they adore him?
Yes,
They worship that
he
man.
is their favorite, and they kind of by accident just kind of started what they call Derek Craven Day, which is February 4th. And I might get a little bit of the lore incorrect here, but basically like they did a discussion thing. It started like back on TikTok, I think even before, I don't know. But
So
they were
it started on Twitter.
Twitter. Thank you.
Hmm.
Thank
Hmm.
you. Yeah, and they were like
Yes.
talking about Derek Craven and all things
Hmm.
about him. And then, like, by happenstance, like, not
Yeah.
intentional, the next year, again on February 4th, more about him came up, and so it became a thing that
So
February 4th.
weird.
I know. It was like fate. And so it became fated mates. It became a thing that February 4th is now Derek Craven Day. And so on their podcast, they celebrate it. They have different discussions. You should definitely go listen to the Derek Craven episode from this past year because
Hmm.
they were able to interview the one and only Lisa
Mother.
Kleypas herself. They talk about this book, but they talk about all Lisa stuff. I will link that episode in all the notes below this because
Hmm.
really you need to go hear Lisa talk about her own stuff. It was
Yes.
fantastic.
Oh, she's amazing.
Yeah. So, anyways, this is like when I started kind of getting more into romance and I found Fated Mates, there was all this lore around Derek Craven and how he's just the best. And I was familiar with Lisa Kleypas, his name. I'd read like a book or two, but not a lot. And so I just kind of always heard about him. And then as I got more into the genre, as I read more Lisa, as all these things, I just, for some reason, still never read this book. So that's why I'm really glad we've done this today. I have read, I guess, setting background to this for me
Hmm.
and for you, Devin, of Lisa's stuff. I'm probably going to forget something, but
Yeah.
I've read the
Fine here.
entirety of The Wallflowers.
Hmm.
I've read the entirety of The Ravenels, but I have
Okay,
not read the
good.
Hathaways in between. I've not read the
No, we
Hathaways.
talked
I know.
about this before, and
I know.
I would join you again for those ones. They
I
are
know.
so good,
I'm
and
like,
they're so much more feral. She goes to I think SMP instead of with Avon, and I think they just let her get feral, and I loved
there
it.
you go. I love it. Yeah. So I've read those full series and I've read a couple other books outside that. I've read, I
Hmm.
believe, Suddenly You.
I was just about to say you've read Suddenly You
I've
because I already know you've read.
I've read Suddenly You. So yeah, I can't remember her name, but the 30-year-old and Jack Devlin and
Yeah,
all of that.
that one's okay.
Um, I'm trying to think what else. That might be it. So I haven't read a lot of the older stuff. So I
Okay,
believe this is the oldest book of hers I've read. And
okay.
the reason I mention that, so this book was first published in 1994. And
Yes.
the reason I mention that specifically is I had to keep the context of the 90s, early
Yes.
90s when it was written, in my head as I read some of this. That's going to
Well,
influence
it's
some of my
so
feelings.
interesting because I've always thought about that, about how romance changes every generation. And in
Yes.
the 90s, they wanted to be ravaged. In the 80s and 90s, they wanted those bodice rippers. They wanted to be ravaged. And then in the last 15 years, like starting with Sarah McLean, especially
Mhm.
with Nine Rules to Break, she basically like consent queen comes around.
Yeah.
So it's like consent becomes more and more like Tessa Dare,
Mhm.
like it becomes more. So it's like, yes, I understand that 1994. I don't know if we call this non-con. I don't know if we're calling it dub-con, but it does get rough
Yeah.
at one particular scene. So,
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. But I guess to kind of frame this with my background of what I've read of Lisa, because I do really enjoy her from what I've read. Um, I would say that this is not my favorite book of hers. I understand why people like it. I understand why people are obsessed with Derek Craven, and I understand how important it is. Like I said, we will talk more about that. For me, it's not my favorite, but I get it, and I'm really
Yeah.
excited to talk about this.
Mhm.
I can see some of the appeal of Derek. My Lisa hero, forever and always, is West Ravenel,
I
but
love that. It says so much about your personality.
it
It
really,
says so much.
who your Kleypas hero is really
I
says a lot
agree,
about
because
you.
I was thinking about who my top Kleypas heroes
Yeah.
are, and they all are basically the same character over and over again, and Wes Ravenel is one of them, so I get it.
Yeah. So, but he is important because, as you said,
Mhm.
Derek is very much kind of one of the first iterations in romance, let alone, we're talking about Lisa and romance writ large of
Mhm.
kind of that working class hero, or
Yes.
not working class even necessarily, but self made man, right?
Mhm.
And this is
Yes.
something that Lisa writes over and over again later.
Mhm.
Famously, I'm thinking I guess even, yeah, there's some in the Wallflowers because, like,
Well, Simon
yeah, I
in
was
the
gonna say
Wallflowers, because he
Simon.
was a butcher's son.
Yeah, and then
Mhm. Yeah,
Annabelle's
but
father and,
mhm.
the sister's
Mhm.
father, and, but then in the Ravenels, we get both, uh
She loves her billionaires, and that's
yeah,
that I said almost that season. She loves her billionaires
I
in that
know.
series. Man,
Yeah, yeah, I'm
her
blanking on
self-made
names all of a
billionaires.
sudden, but yeah, so we get
Well, we
the
got our
department
Reese
store guy.
Winterbourne, we've got our
Winterbourne, thank you. I was
Tom
gonna say
Severin.
Westcliff, but
Uh-huh.
Winterbourne and
It's
Tom.
yeah,
Yeah, Tom
basically.
Severin. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So there's a lot of these, but I do think that
Mhm.
this book stood out to me a bit. And again, I have not read all of Lisa, so tell me if I'm wrong. But
Don't
she has
worry.
a lot of these self-made men, but
Mhm.
usually the women come from the aristocracy or are themselves very wealthy.
Yes.
So Sarah was unique to me in this, and that both
Mhm.
of them, like neither of them necessarily come from the world of the Ton, right? Like they
Mhm.
are,
Yes.
yeah.
Oh,
Um,
she's so far removed.
yeah, yeah. I mean, she is this kind of country girl that grows up in a village.
Yes.
And he's accepted there because he has created essentially, like, he comes from these humble origins, like we talked about, but
Mhm.
he's become one of London's wealthiest men by creating a gaming hell, essentially. They
Mhm.
call it a social club to be
Yeah.
acceptable, but And so he's super rich now. And so he mixes with these people all the time. He
Mhm.
also has friends that are aristocrats, which is the other book that you mentioned,
Mhm.
where we first meet Derek, which I've not read that one, but now I want to after reading this one.
And I will say another really important thing also about Derek Craven is that this is a villain redemption story,
Okay.
because he does something very untoward in the previous book.
Okay.
So that's why, like, it's an interesting setup, because when I found out that this one was Derek Craven, I was like, ew.
Uh, I love it. I
Now I
love
don't
it.
know, think I want to say what it is so that you go and
Mhm.
read it. But
No,
he
I
is
wanna go. I
definitely,
wanna
he
now.
thwarts, he does something that is not you're gonna the dub and the non-con of this. It's just you're gonna love it. But
Okay.
anyways.
I don't know, yeah, but the couple from the first book, Then Came You,
Uh-huh.
they're prominent in this book, so Lily and
Yes.
Alex, his friends, and so now I'm like, it was obvious to me that they'd had their own book before I there you go, before I even looked it up, I was like,
Beautiful
they were
cover.
a previous book, like, you can just tell by the way they were written.
Beautiful cover.
Yeah, gorgeous. So Derek is really unique in terms of, again, 1994. The book I did last here on the podcast was In Bed with the Devil by Larian Heath, where
Mhm.
I guess we could say the hero in that is actually legitimately born to be an earl, but he was raised, it's very Oliver Twist and very, like, he was raised rough and very much of that same, but it was kind of like Derek set the mold, right? Like
Oh, yeah.
Lisa created kind of this thing that other people followed to
Mhm.
have these people who had brought themselves up, I
Yes,
guess.
yes. I'm so happy that that doesn't happen at the end also, though, of Dreaming
Mhm.
of You, that, like, he stays exactly where he is. I mean, he
Yes.
obviously the end, I mean, we're gonna talk about, spoiler alert, it does
Yeah.
burn down, but
Hmm.
he moves on to other
Yes.
things. So he is, yeah, totally
Yeah.
agree.
But yeah, so he's very important. And
Mhm.
I see why people like him. I struggled a little bit. It's not him himself, I guess.
Mhm.
It was the way that he was seen by others and constantly described, like, all the women are attracted to him because he's kind of, like, represents that bit of rough, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know, this is me and my sensitive little self, but I'm like, every woman understands what it means to be, like, seen as only one thing and just be
Uh-huh.
hypersexualized, and I'm like, "Let's not do that to our heroes too."
I think that was also the point, though.
I
I
know it
think
was.
it's
I
because
know. I
I
know.
know, I mean, like, he
Yeah.
was a sex worker, and
Yeah.
he did like dominating these women. I mean, he
Mhm.
purposely went after these women because they were the wives of these people he's like,
Yeah.
"I'm better than you."
Yeah.
But
And
no,
they
I
were the
totally get that.
key, they were the key to him being able to
Mhm.
make himself.
Mhm.
And, another thing, I'm not saying that is
I
wrong
do
in
wanna
any
say
way.
this really quick
Yeah.
too. I don't know if I've mentioned this, and Andy knows this, but this is also not my favorite book either,
Yeah.
and this is
Mhm.
also not my favorite hero. He is, definitely I don't even think he's in my top 5, but I understand this as a sacred text, and
Yeah.
I'll defend her still to this day. So
For sure.
so
Yeah, no, I have 0 problems with how he got where he is because of his upbringing. They talk about how when he was really young, he worked as a chimney sweep, and there's a part in the
Mhm,
book where they mention he was working on passing legislation to help
mhm,
children in that situation, and it didn't go through, and he was very justifiably upset with
mhm,
the Lord who had stopped it. Uh, but I mean, he's because of this background, like, he so wants more and to prove himself, and
mhm,
it's like this combo that we've seen before where it's like, I totally have nothing but contempt for these people, but I have to be the
mhm.
best. Like,
Yes.
I need to be
Mhm.
part of them. Um,
Yes.
but it's interesting because until he meets Sarah, which
Mhm.
we'll get into, but it's
What a
never
meet cute.
enough. Like, he's one of the
Oh,
wealthy
yeah.
men in London, but it's never enough. Like, he always
Mhm,
needs more. He's never gonna be satisfied, and I think she does such a good job of painting that picture and helping
mhm.
us truly understand, like, who he is and where he comes from,
Yes, yes.
and his driving motivations, and why he has such
Mhm,
a hard time actually opening up emotionally
mhm.
with a
Yes.
woman. Like, it's mentioned that anytime there's, like, the hint of maybe feelings, like, he pushes ladies aside,
Mhm.
which ends up being a problem for him throughout this entire book because he has pissed off the wrong woman, Joyce.
Joyce.
Oh,
Oh,
Joyce.
this is one of the worst examples of this really toxic trope. It does
Yeah,
bum me out, but it is an important it's important. It's
it's
just it is.
important. So, I do wanna talk about Sarah, obviously, but let's just since
Yes,
we're
yes.
here, let's talk about Joyce for a minute. So, she is a woman, lady, I can't remember now, it starts with an A,
I have it writ
as
Ashby. Joyce
Ashby.
Lady
Yes,
Ashby.
Lady Ashby Joyce. They had been having an affair, and
Mhm,
he has called it off kinda right as this book begins, and she's not having it. Like, this is a woman used to having her way, and she basically is like, she thinks he's joking, he's gonna come back to her, and she's finally like, "Alright, fine. Well, if I can't have you, no one will." And so this book
mhm,
opens with an attack on him that she has arranged, and essentially, like, they slash his face intentionally, like, it's to
mhm,
maim him and make it so that other women won't want him anymore. And she continues to wreak havoc throughout this book up until the end when she burns his club down and all sorts
mhm.
even worse. But she is, as you said, kind of really the picture of this toxic woman, and it's pretty stereotypical, and I'm like, "Oh, really? We're gonna do, like, the horrible
It's
woman thing?"
low-hanging fruit.
I
It's
know.
just
I
in
know, and
these
so I was like,
yeah.
but here's the thing, is it's not totally stereotypical. Like, I mean, I
Mhm.
did roll my eyes sometimes at the way this all
Yes.
played out. I'm not gonna pretend I
Mhm.
didn't. But Lisa explains why she is the way she is. She's not
That's
just a
important.
it's very important. She's not a
Mhm. It
one-dimensional
does make you
villain.
feel bad for her because up
Yeah.
until the very end, you are not feeling bad for her. I mean, she is, like,
Mhm.
ready to turn Sarah into her own sex slave. Like,
Yeah.
she
It's
is a bad woman, which
it's
wow,
dark.
okay, Lisa, 1994. But then you find out, you really do find out, like, where she is coming from on everything, and
Mhm.
you're like,
Yeah.
"Okay, I see where it all came from."
Yeah, and so I really do want to give Lisa her flowers for this because there's a she could have just left it as this one-dimensional
Mhm.
villain, but I mean,
Mhm.
it doesn't excuse or anything, but, we understand, and I think even more importantly, though, than the reader understanding is Derek understands.
Yeah.
And so basically when she was 15, she was married to this way older man, and it kind of, that very disturbing
Mhm.
situation we see. And so she has lashed out and become pretty sexually adventurous and all these things. And but I appreciate, I think, even more than just giving us the explanation again, that obviously Derek has major issues with her, but he's able to
Mhm.
empathize as well. And I think that's
Mhm.
really important.
Yes.
And she's the same thing with Martha, who I don't think we have to go super into Martha, but Martha is the mother of Perry Kingswood, who is Sarah's.
I love you're diving into that
I
one.
know. I mean, the
Mhm.
same
I like
thing where
Martha.
I know Martha's not like she's not a huge character. She's not crazy important,
Yes.
but she is a very controlling mother of
Mhm.
Perry, who is Sarah's kind of betrothed, kind of.
Mhm.
And she basically is super possessive and controlling of her son, and she's, like,
Yes.
horrible, and she doesn't think anyone's ever gonna be worthy of him. But you also see that, she was widowed very young. Her son was the
Mhm.
only thing she had. She had to raise him on her own, like, there's reasons, right?
Mhm.
And so I always appreciate that. So thank you, Lisa, for not making our villains
Yes.
just total villains.
Okay, you're now bringing that out for me. It's, like, so nice to have someone with, like, fresh eyes. You're so right. They both did get their at least a little bit of agency of
Yes.
why they are the way they are. So,
Yes, it doesn't
thank
mean we
you.
have to agree with anything they do.
No. No, but they have motivations and agency, and
There's an
we love that.
understanding as to the why of their
Yes.
terribleness.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know, which is good for me as a
Mhm.
writer. I need to, like, think
Mhm.
about these things, you know? But let's talk Sarah.
Sarah is such an interesting so, okay, what I think is so funny, especially about Sarah Fielding, is that she killed a guy in the
Yes.
first chapter. In the
Yes.
first 10 pages, she straight up shoots a man, and
Yeah.
it never gets brought up again. Woman
Right.
is fine. She is just like, "Whatevs, like, I did it. I gotta do what I gotta do."
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay, let's start with that with Sarah. But Sarah is also, like we were talking about earlier, she is a country girl. She is a country
Mhm.
mouse. She is, even though she is so naive at the beginning of this, and
Yeah.
she is, it's so interesting because she's an author. We didn't go
Mhm.
too much into that.
We
So I'll
didn't.
give a little
Yeah.
Sarah. So Sarah's an author. She writes under a pen name that is S.J. Fielding, I
S.J.
think.
Fielding. Yeah.
Yeah, and she writes morality tales, and Matilda is her last one she just did, and it was, like, just huge. It blew up her
Runaway
whole
success.
career. What was that?
Runaway success.
Yeah, yeah, huge. So it made her so she is, she's when people find out who she is, she's recognizable everywhere.
Yeah.
So she is in London because she's about to write her next morality tale, which is about a gambling hell, and, so she has always heard about Cravens and how famous Derek Craven is and everything about Cravens in particular, and so she is trying to get in there. And so with Derek getting attacked by these men, she comes in and saves him
Yeah.
by straight up shooting a man that she had a gun in her bag. She had her own gun, so we love her. I mean, back then, she's at least taking care of herself.
She's got it.
But yes, so she ends up taking him back, and everybody is starstruck by her. Everyone is freaking out that it's her, and Derek is just like, "Ew, like, get away. She is too sweet and too naive, and she's burrowing into my soul, and I can't tell why." And so we now it's going that back and forth of her being there, being in the in the gambling hell because everyone likes her there, and
Yeah.
Derek is just like, "Get her out!" And so it's like that battle back and forth. So
Yeah.
that's and she has a major also transformation as well, just
Yes.
going from being so naive and so okay with the smallness
Mhm.
of her life, and then Derek just opening this all up for her.
Yeah.
So I and then she has her magic spectacles.
Yes.
I don't know if you wanna go into that yet, but
We can. We
they're
can.
important. So Lisa is
Yes.
one of her main things that she does is using totems or, like, just, like iconography, anything like that. So there's always something in every book that's gonna hold the whole book together or is going to be like the inciting incident. So Sarah is leaving her spectacles all over Cravens, and it's driving Derek crazy. And so finally, he ends up stealing one of them and keeping them when she leaves. And we find out later that he's held on to them. And it's what basically binds them back together when they're at that party. She feels it and she's like, moi. And like, it's kind of like brings us all back together.
Yes.
And that's by far the most famous thing. And I will say really quick, it's been announced that there is going to be a special edition of Dreaming of You
Mhm.
that's going to be coming out. That's I think they just announced it. It's like going to be a new bound edition. And I've seen it.
Ooh.
I met an author, I won't say who because I don't wanna out her, but I met an author and we were at an event where there weren't a lot of historical romance fans, and we connected on loving Lisa, and she was
That's
like,
so
"Well,"
common.
very, very sadly common, and she was like, "Well, I'm giving a little bit away, I'm part of a new thing that is blah, 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 and let me show you something, but you can never ever tell." And
Love it.
I will say spectacles they're pretty important, so
Because they are
love
important.
it. They're
Yeah.
very and I
Because
mean, and she
not
has it
Yeah.
comes with every single book,
Oh,
and I
yeah.
love that
Every
about
book
her.
has the little talisman somewhere in there, right?
Yeah, I love it.
Um, when I read Secrets of Summer Night, I was like, "Boots, he bought her boots."
I know. It's the ring for me in
Aw.
Devil in Winter.
Yeah.
My Love is Upon You is really
Yeah,
that's
there's
my
so
big one.
many, ugh,
Mhm.
great things, but
Yes.
it's not only though that one feels compelled to take her spectacles, right?
Mhm.
But then he keeps them with him. But not only does he keep
In
him
his
with him, it's in his
pocket.
breast pocket, so it's
That's
next
why
to
I
his
keep
heart.
going. I know, I'm like, he wants them as close to his
Yeah,
body as
close. Well,
possible.
and his heart too, not just his body. Like,
Mhm.
it's just anyway, it's great. But
I'm
yeah,
gonna cry.
I told Devin before this, I was like, "Okay, here's the thing. I get that this book and Derek Craven, but, like, forget Derek. Like, let's talk Sarah because she's
Mhm.
to me, I mean, we're used to our strong women and historical
Mhm.
romance. I mean, that's, I think, a highlight of the genre, but, the Jessica Trent of it all and all that. But I just
Yeah.
feel like Sarah is very unique and she's so
Mhm.
strong and she's the only child of an older couple, and so she's kind of been raised with a little bit more independence, and they've let her be free
Mhm.
thinking. They've let her, she becomes an author, as you said. She's writing these books.
Could only assume by context clues that her parents are probably in their 60s, like
Probably.
60s or
Yeah.
70s,
I
if
mean,
not
because they talk
70s.
about having been married and in
It's
their cottage.
childbearing years
Yeah, they talk
is what
about
they
having
say.
been in their
Mhm.
cottage for 40 years.
Yeah, wow, okay.
Sarah herself was 25, and there's mention in the book that she was kind of a miracle child. They thought they weren't gonna be able to have children. She came along later.
So definitely parents that are trying to be like, "You're not always gonna have us here, so we need
Yes.
to get you ready for life,"
Yeah, so they let her be kind of more independent and make more of her decisions, which is why they have let her go to London for the research for her new
which is
novel.
wild for the time. Like,
Yeah, and so but
that's insanity.
she is very naive still and very much this country miss who's not spent a lot of time. She's got a
Mhm.
very compassionate heart. She's writing these morality tales, as you said, but she's not necessarily giving any kind of judgment on, Matilda was a prostitute. She's writing about
Mhm.
people who grew up in the gutter, kind of like Derek. She's immersing herself in this world and understanding because she wants
Mhm.
to write these books to help other people understand basically what's going on.
Mhm.
And so I think it's so unique. And we mentioned Perry. So
Mhm.
Perry is a woman,
Yeah.
a
He is
man
a
back.
turkey sandwich with nothing on it.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So he's her beau, let's say,
Mhm.
from back in her little country village of Greenwood Corners, which I just love that name
Mhm.
so much. And she just thinks that he's the man she's going to be with. He's this good, upstanding gentleman. He's kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Revered by everyone in Greenwood Corners, kind of
Yeah,
held
he's
up.
just respected,
He's
but, like,
Yeah,
not necessarily like, he's just, like, a guy that everyone's like, "Yeah, he's not that's not a it's not gonna be an issue. Marrying
yeah,
him, you're not gonna have any you're not gonna have a lot of issues with
yeah.
him."
But when she goes back to Greenwood Corners after spending all this time at Craven's and seeing this other life and encountering Derek, we'll get into that in a minute. But, she really it's not that she didn't have eyes open before based on
Mhm.
what she'd researched before, for Matilda and all these things, but it's like
Mhm.
she understands a different part of herself now
Yes.
and that maybe she wants more out of life.
Mhm.
Harry's just like, "Dude, who the heck are you?" Because, she's like, "I just wanna feel something. I wanna know that you love
Yeah.
me. I just don't want this quiet life anymore." She tries to kiss him, and she's like, "We're gonna be married. What's the big
And
deal?"
he's
And he's
like,
just
"You're
like
a wanton
Yeah.
mistress of a woman."
Yeah, and, he won't stand up for her, and it becomes clear to her that, he just wants someone who's going to do his bidding and take care of him,
And he
and
doesn't want her to write anymore.
yes, that's what I was gonna say. He's gonna
Yeah, that it gets me. It gets me
Yeah.
so hard. That is so sad to me.
Yeah,
Because it's
he
what
wants
I
her
mean,
to give up
the
her
fact that she's
writing.
25 and not married
He's
yet. I mean, it's
25.
because writing is her passion.
Yes.
He chose
And
it first.
so, maybe he said that before, and she
Mhm.
just didn't, hear it or comprehend it before, but it's like for
Yeah.
the first time she's saying, "I don't think this is actually what I want." And so she's
Mhm.
looking for some kind of, assurance from him. It's also been
Mhm.
4 years, and they're not officially engaged because, again, we
Mhm.
mentioned his mother, Martha, earlier. Very controlling, doesn't like her because, of course, she's not good enough for her precious son,
Mhm.
and he just will not defend her to his mother ever. He's not gonna stand up for her, he's not gonna and it's like she's
Mhm.
got this new fire within her, and she's just not taking it anymore. And she's
Yeah.
like, "No."
Yeah.
And there's nothing necessarily there's no, one little piece about Sarah that is necessarily totally radical or
Mhm.
crazy, but, I just felt like she was this really, independent, strong woman that
Well,
yeah, we don't know
yeah,
what to
she
do.
just came back and she was just like, "I thought all this was normal. I thought that, like, my boyfriend just kind of, like, looking at me the nice way was normal." Like, she didn't know what
Yeah,
she couldn't know, and so when she
right.
gets back, it's all this I mean, even Derek just passionately wanting
Mhm.
her gone was still passion she never knew.
Right.
So, it's just like there is no it's so you're right, it really is hard to explain because it's just like this bigness next to this dry small, and
Mhm.
she never knew it was small, and
Yeah.
there's just something Perry as a character just and the fact that I love that he's like this like blonde
Mhm.
hero and he's got this like coiffed and stuff. And then you've got gnarly, literally gnarly teethed Derek Craven, who
Yes.
my gosh, I will say I am attracted to he's not my favorite, but I am attracted to that man.
He's got he has all the hallmarks of the things that Lisa loves, right? So
Well,
he's the
he's
dark.
and alpha. He is the most alpha. She
He's
loves her
very
alphas.
alpha, but just in
Uh-huh.
terms of, physical appearance, right?
Yes, yes.
He's a
Uh-huh.
little bit gnarly because, famously, she loves Westcliff, who is
Mhm.
in a lot of the stories, but mainly the
Mhm.
Wallflowers, but,
Mhm.
and she always kinda describes him as not being, the most attractive and,
Mhm. He's
whatever, but
short.
it's like, sure, he's,
Well, he's described as a bulldog every single
I
time he's
know, but it's like
described.
but so Derek I kept picturing kind of how I had pictured Westcliff in my head
Mhm.
when I was reading Derek, because same of,
Mhm.
the dark hair, the little bit,
Mhm.
swarthy, but then, of course, the pelted hairy chest because Lisa loves that.
She
Lisa
loves
loves it.
fur.
fur. Yes. And so it's just interest I don't know, it's interesting
Mhm.
because Perry is the exact opposite of that.
Exact opposite. Yeah.
Exact opposite.
He's like a Lord Byron type.
He's
Like
what, at the time would be considered like the classically handsome and like
mhm,
what was considered like the most
mhm.
looks wise in
But he's just a
1820s, right?
little but
Yeah,
how boring is that?
I know. I know. But yeah, so I found Sarah really fascinating. So it was interesting
Uh-huh.
to me. I mean, we do often I think and maybe I'm just repeating things again that I've heard Sarah and Jen say, but authors tend to often write either their heroes or their heroines a little more memorably or stronger.
Mhm.
And Lisa is known for her heroes.
Yes. 100%. 100%.
100%. Like there's
Mhm.
all the like quizzes that come out, or not even quizzes, but just like people ranking their favorite
Mhm.
heroes. And
They're
I
always
mean,
gonna be yeah.
yeah, like I just was
Mhm.
saying, West's mine and, whatever.
Uh-huh.
Because they're very memorable men.
Mhm.
And I don't know, it's so interesting because like all I ever hear when this book is Derek Craven, Derek Craven, Derek Craven. And I was like, can we talk about Sarah Fielding for a minute? This woman who was this like best-selling author in
Yes!
1820s.
I mean, and the fact that, like, people think that Matilda is real. They think
Yes. Oh my
Matilda is
gosh.
a real
That
person,
was
and that is
so
wild.
funny. It's like, okay, so it's like
Tabitha's one of my favorite side characters of, like,
Tabitha,
Lisa
yeah.
Kleypas.
Do
I
we need to
really
talk
like
about the Tabitha incident?
I I I do wanna know your opinion, whether you think it whether y I mean, so just really quick,
Yes.
Tabitha, when Derek sends Sarah back to Greenwood Corner and she, has this, time with Perry, we find out through Tabitha, because she comes and visits Sarah, that we know that they look similar to each other, and so he
Yes.
sleeps he spends the night with her, and he
And
basically is
Tabitha
like
is a working woman in
yes, Tabitha
Craven.
is yes, she is a sex worker in Cravens, and so he pretends it's Sarah. He says, "Sarah, don't leave me. Sarah, I wanna hold you." But so something they talk about also on Fated Mates is and this is something that it's so funny, I've talked about this with my own friends, with Lisa
Mhm.
Kleypas, is we argue, do you think they had sex or not? And I personally I'm kind of again, Lisa Kleypas has said that it's ambiguous, that
Mhm.
sometimes she feels like they did, sometimes but it doesn't matter, and I'm literally quoting straight from Lisa on this,
I
is that she says that it's ambiguous
Mhm.
because it's the emotional affair that's the issue,
Right.
and not the physical affair
I was
that's
gonna
the
say,
issue.
I mean, I understand why it matters to some
Mhm,
people because for
mhm.
many, not necessarily me, but for many, like, the cheating is the absolute, like, last
But they
straw.
aren't
You can't
cheating though,
right.
that
That
is the
well, that's
thing.
the thing. I
Mhm,
know.
no,
Those
I know people just don't wanna have that, like, af
well,
I'm the same
when I
way,
say
I'm the same way.
cheating, maybe it's more that, like, once the hero has met the heroine, they don't want him to
Mhm.
be thinking about
There's
anyone
a
else,
few
right?
books that I have really big issues with
Yeah.
that I am like, "I don't wanna know, I don't wanna know."
Yeah. So,
But
I don't really know. I mean, at first
I know.
when I was reading the first part, and I knew the scene was coming because 'cause I'd heard it
Mhm.
discussed.
You've heard it, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's like, "Oh, Tabitha's visiting. That's where she's gonna explain all this to
Mhm.
Sarah, that he came and visited her and whatever."
Yeah.
And then at first I was like, as I was reading it, I was like, "Oh, they did." And then at the end, she's talking about how
Mhm.
he just, like, held her all night and stuff, and I was like, "No, they
Mhm.
didn't." And
I
then
don't think they did.
I was like, "I don't think it matters though." Like,
Exactly. No, it doesn't
it does
matter.
not matter whether or not it was more that he had actually, like, gone to her at all, and it
Mhm.
was like that was, like, a huge, vulnerable, emotional step for him.
See, that's how I saw it. I saw when I first read it, I saw it as him really trusting Tabitha. I
Yeah,
saw it more as a Tabitha thing, which is so funny because I was like, "Oh my god, he trusts his friend
yeah, I
to
was like,
do this," because, like,
that was
oh,
well,
that's
and
kinda funny.
even him but even, like yes, trusting Tabitha, huge,
Mhm.
absolutely had to be
But
able to
but
do that,
knowing
but
that
this
he
is a
wants to
man
be
who
only with
yeah,
Sarah.
he is allergic to emotions, right?
Mhm. Oh, yeah,
Like,
yeah,
any
yeah.
kind of attachment because he's not had the
Mhm.
family, he's not had that, right? And so the fact that he even allowed himself to have that moment, like, that to me was what was so, like, wow. And so
Yeah.
I don't really care if they did or they didn't. Like, you just
I know.
you
It doesn't
you interpret
matter.
that however you need to.
It's funny because when I first read that, I was the kind of reader that wanted to know an answer.
Mhm.
And now I'm totally not that reader anymore. I'm really,
Yeah.
well, it's funny because Lisa Kleypas turned me into a Death of an Artist reader. And because of her rewrites, which man, we should do one on that. But yeah, it just didn't matter to me. So now I am more about, or Death of the Author.
Yeah.
I'm much more about that now. So it does not matter what the
Yeah.
intention was and what we all read into it differently. So
Yeah.
I'm with you on that.
I mean, I guess also the way that Lisa has painted Derek throughout this whole thing, like, we
Mhm.
know this is a man who has been with many a woman.
Yes.
And I'm not even talking about his sex work days, like, that's
Mhm.
separate in
No,
my
just
mind. Like, this is
just
just
from being
after,
him.
like, just
Mhm.
him partially in the, like, I'm gonna stick it to the aristocracy and
Mhm.
go after these women, but also just, he's a real
Mhm.
man, he wants his enjoyment, he whatever.
Mhm.
Uh, that is no secret. And,
Yes.
Sarah very much acknowledges this. She knows she's very much not, the first. She's first
Mhm.
in a different way, special emotionally. We'll get to that because we're
Mhm.
going to talk intimate scenes in a minute. But,
Mhm.
I just, so based on that, part of me is like, well, of course he's loved what's happened. Like, and
Yeah,
I just see it
yeah.
as like a comfort thing. But again, the way that she then went into describing how he just kind of like held her and stuff, I
He
was
just held her.
like, maybe he just needed that physical moment. Like, I don't think it meant anything. I don't think it meant
Yeah.
anything. Like, I don't know. Anyway,
I have a quick question for you.
yes,
So, because I know you're a big Reese Winterborn fan.
I do like Reese.
Do you now see where the beginnings of there's a lot of
Yes,
similarities, and
for sure.
especially like with the aristocrat, women wanting it rough.
Very
And
much.
they're very similar in that way. And it's just
Yeah.
funny because I love Reese Winterborn. So it's like almost like he's in my top 5 for sure. He might be number 2.
Who's your number
And
one?
so it's really hard to say. I feel like it really changes based on mood.
I understand that.
You know what's funny to me is that I think it's Sebastian St. Vincent, but it's
Okay.
Sebastian St. Vincent and not the Duke of Kingston. I do love him in the later
Okay.
books, but I love him in his book
Hmm.
because that book changed my brain chemistry.
That's
That
the
book
book. Yeah.
just it's the book that I've gotten, I got one of my best friend's husbands to read. And he
Love
was
that.
texting me the whole time and it was so funny because I was
I
like,
love
this is
that.
amazing.
So
But
good.
so yeah, I would probably say Sebastian St. Vincent is my favorite, but
I get
how
it.
cliche,
It's, it's
but
okay.
also
It's cliche for a reason.
I know you, but you haven't read The Hathaways,
I have
and
not.
the fourth hero in that one, Christopher Phelan, is one of my favorites too. So
Okay.
those are my
Anyways, we got
favorites.
off
Yeah,
on a tangent
sorry.
there.
I know,
No, it's
quick
okay.
little.
That was me too.
I can talk about Lisa all day.
I know, I know. But okay, so 2 last things I wanna talk about with this book specifically,
Yes.
and then I
Mhm.
wanna talk about the Matildaverse and
Yeah.
broader Lisa and all of that. So, I think so we talked about, I guess, so she shows up, Sarah shows up in kind of this flurry in Derek's
Mhm.
life because she does save him from this encounter where he's attacked at Joyce's
Mhm.
orders, and she shoots a man, and again, we don't really delve into that, which is interesting, but
Not important.
I mean, there's one mention, like, very quickly after the incident where she's like, "Oh, shoot, I shot a man," but then they, like that's it.
No police even show up.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, I know. Anyways,
Anyway.
so she's thrust into the world. When she finds out he's obviously Derek, she's like, "Oh my god, Craven's, like, yes, I wanna
Mhm.
get in on this." So, basically, as you said, everyone there loves her, so she instantly kinda gets accepted into the club, and
Mhm.
his number 1 guy, Worthy,
Yes.
yes,
The factotum.
the factotum, which is such a funny title.
I don't even know what it is. Not and won't bother.
Yeah, his
What?
number 2, basically.
Yes, yes.
he, is basically like, "Oh, yeah, you want access to the club? We'll make this happen. Like, just ignore
Mhm.
Derek. He doesn't need to know about this." Because Derek's like,
Yeah.
"Hell no. Like, I can't have
Mhm.
this innocent
He's
woman
not
running
right.
around my club. Like, she's just gonna get"
Mhm.
anyway. So he's been trying to get her away, 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 but in the first, like, I'd
Mhm.
say 20% of the book, like, she is basically at even more, but, like,
Mhm.
she is in Craven's. She's doing her research, all of this.
Yes.
Um, and so then we come to they're gonna have this night that they call the assembly. And essentially it's like the club's gonna have a big party and
Mhm.
she wants to go and Derek's like, "Hell no." He's like, this is gonna be like, Men of the Toff and like the
Mhm.
demi-monde. Like this
Yeah.
isn't gonna be so
Mhm.
he's like, This is not a place for you. Like you can
Yeah.
maybe watch from the back of the second balcony." But she's like, "No, no, no, I
No.
gotta be in it." And he's like,
Yeah.
"No." And Worthy's like, "I'll make it happen." So he connects her with Lily,
Mhm.
Lady Rainsford. She sets her all up and everything. So, part of the thing, of course, is it's a masquerade. So she's got a mask and whatever.
Yeah.
I always find it interesting how no one can tell who you are just after a little
Nope,
clip
nope.
cloth. But
Uh-huh, we just went
yeah,
through Bridgerton.
I
What?
know. I know.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. 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 Suspend your disbelief. It's fine.
Yes.
And, so she's there, but from the get-go, I was like, "Oh, shit." Because in the carriage on the way there, she's just drinking, drinking, drinking. And I'm just like, this is
Mhm.
not going to go well.
Oh.
I know. And, of course, everyone's very taken with her because she's in this
Mhm.
gorgeous dress. It's very revealing. They're talking about her voluptuous breasts and everything.
Mhm.
And everyone's on her, and of course, Derek's like, "Who's this woman everyone's around? Like,
Mhm.
I must have her." And he's been super attracted to Sarah this whole time.
Mhm.
This is the second thing I wanted to talk about before we move on, so I'm gonna divert off this for a minute, and then we'll get back.
Mhm.
I think the reason I didn't love, love, love this book, the second half, once Derek's in and he's like,
Mhm.
"Sarah," and he's like, so,
Yeah.
going to Tabitha because he's so
Uh-huh.
distraught and everything. And
Yeah.
he's like, he'll do anything for her. Like, love it,
Mhm.
get it, love the devotion, understand why, Sarah
Mhm.
can obsess, get it.
Mhm.
But even though the whole time part of the reason he's like, "Get her out of my club," is because he's
Mhm.
attracted to her.
Yes.
I wasn't quite sure where or why or how he fell in love with her.
Yeah, no, I could see that.
I'm like, so when in all this? Because
I think it's just part of the, like, it's a faded. I mean, it's like it's literally
yeah,
like insta, like, I think he knew right off the bat that she would just get under his skin, and
I get
Lisa
that.
does write this type of hero over and over again where it makes no sense. Like,
He spends so much time pushing her away that they don't have time to actually get to know each other at all.
yeah.
And so I totally understand that, like, he's very into her in terms of, like,
Mhm.
attraction and
Yeah.
can probably understand, like, a little bit of, who she is
Mhm.
in terms of, like, she's a writer, she wrote Matilda, my staff loves her. I'm not saying he's
Mhm.
not observing this and getting this, but he's
Mhm.
so, like, just need to get her away that until
Yes.
they encounter each other at the assembly, so we'll get back to this now.
Mhm.
Like, I'm just like, "But when did he actually fall in love with her?" And
Mhm.
because when he becomes obsessed is after this physical encounter they're gonna have, which we're gonna talk about.
Mhm.
But like, and so I'm just kind of like, okay, I get the lust, I get that, like, I get it. But like, when does this become a thing? And this is an issue I have with a lot of books. It's not just
Mhm.
this. I'm not saying
Yeah.
it's bad. I'm not saying I didn't
It's
like.
such an alpha
I
hero
believe that
issue.
he's all in
Mhm.
and he's totally gone
Yeah.
for
No,
her.
but that's
I just
legit.
wanna know, like, when and how did this
Mhm.
happen? That's just
Yeah.
me, and this is something I, like, as I'm writing, I think about a lot. I'm like, because in
Mhm.
my head, these people make perfect sense that I'm writing, but have
Mhm.
I shown why they make perfect sense? And
Yeah.
I think we can always be better at that. Like,
Yeah.
this is not me critiquing Lisa. I love Lisa.
Hey,
I just that was a little
I
lacking for
have
me.
I have Lisa Kleypas books that I feel like I have to burn sage around them because they're so horrific. So, I
So
am not an apologist.
yeah, so that was
So,
my diversion. I just had to
uh-huh.
say that. I
Yeah.
think
Uh-huh.
that's the reason. Like, once he's gone for
Mhm.
her, I get it. I love it.
Mhm.
Like, he's a man in his
Yeah.
emotions. But
Uh-huh.
So anyway, so they're at the assembly and he like takes her away and they're having this encounter. She's trying to hide the fact that it's her because she knows as soon as he figures it out, he'll
Mhm.
push her away.
Yes.
And she just wants this moment. And I guess we should say too that preceding this, like she had asked him for a kiss because she just
Mhm.
wants, again, she's like, I want to experience more in my life. And like Perry's
Mhm.
not into me in this way and whatever. And
Mhm.
she gets the inkling that he'd be into that with her. And so she asks
I wonder
him,
what.
yeah. And he basically just pushes her away and rejects her, not because he doesn't want her, which he does
Mhm.
explain,
Yes.
but she only kind of half gets it because she just kind of feels rejected, right?
Yeah, of
And so
course.
she's like, I'm going to make this happen. And so she's
Mhm.
like into this physical encounter, but then all of a sudden she's like,
Mhm.
wow. And so one, she's drunk.
Yes.
Two, there's a couple times where she's like, whoa, stop. And he's just like,
Yeah, when
doesn't.
I hear a no, I get real
Yeah.
I get icked out
Yeah. And
real
so
quick.
this whole scene, and this is where I'm saying I had to keep reminding myself that it's
Mhm.
1994.
Yep.
And it's very common at this time for kind of the mindset to be like, I want this, but I can't want this. Like I almost kind of
Mhm.
want, I'm overcome against my will a little bit because we
Mhm.
can't see her as being this wanton woman that Perry accuses her of being,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
Um, so that whole scene made me a little uncomfortable. It felt very like Pear Brandy with Westcliff
Well,
and
I was just about to say, we did that
Lillian.
together.
Yeah,
We did that together, and
we did.
I have a huge issue, but that one, I will say I think I have a bigger issue with that one because she
Yeah.
is wasted.
Oh, yes.
And
It's
and
it is
it's
different. Yeah.
and they are really hammering in how hammered she is.
Yeah.
So that's why it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And I do believe, like I said, this is the moment of no return for Derek,
Mhm.
right? Because he finally
Yeah.
has given in and he does realize it's her, like
Uh-huh.
mid-encounter, and he does
Yeah.
freak out and push her away. They don't
Huh.
actually sleep together at that point. They
No,
have
which thank God.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, at least we have that difference too,
And
and
that's
the fact that we
again,
have
yeah,
Worthy, I mean, Worthy is kinda why, I mean.
worthy. Yeah. Uh, so all that to say, I had some issues with that scene, but I think it's very important because I do think that is the moment where he just realizes, like, I can't keep avoiding this. Now, he does.
Mhm.
He does.
Yes.
That's when he's like, we're done. I'm sending you away from my
Mhm.
club. So that's when she goes back to Green Corners and
Mhm.
has life is different with Perry and all that. Because he's just like, his whole way of dealing with this is, I'm not going to deal with it.
I'm not gonna deal with
I'm not
it.
going to think
I'm
about you. I'm
gonna
not going to see you again. Although
but
we
he
know he does.
still has the spectacles even
He
in the
still has the
middle of it. But no,
spectacles. He has his
I
moment with Tabitha slash Sarah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do think that that moment is where it's like the point of no return. And then when they do actually see each other in person again, it's kind of like,
Mhm.
we're in, this is happening. It's,
Yeah.
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 So there's many other things we could talk about, but for the
Mhm.
sake of time, we're not going to.
I'm serious, I could do a
I know.
3-hour podcast. I could probably just do an entire podcast about Lisa Kleypas and just go
I
through
know.
each one
We could.
and
We
just
could.
love her. I know.
I know. I mean, I'm trying not to like I only do a book a month. So I'm like, let's
Yeah.
hold off a little while, but yes, I
Yeah.
hear you. I hear you. So talk to me. We mentioned this at the beginning a little bit, but talk to me about the Matilda verse that you kind of
Okay.
created. What is this?
So the
How does
Matildaverse,
yes.
I mean, we should technically say it does start with Then Came You because that is when Derek Craven is introduced. But you know what? We pretend like Then Came You does not exist. So because it's the only Lisa Kleypas book I've ever rated 1 star.
Really?
Is Then Came You. Yeah. And
Okay.
what's funny about it is that I don't remember why because I read it so long ago. But, Dreaming of You, I've got it here. We have the beautiful I know that, like, this isn't a
If you're
visual,
listening, you
like
can't see, but
uh-huh,
she's showing the beautiful
yes.
step back.
Uh-huh, and it's actually Lisa's first step back of
Is
her
it?
novels. All of them
Yeah.
have clinch covers. So, just really quick for listeners, I have Then Came You, which is just the absolute cliche clinch cover. Like,
Yeah.
and she even has short hair because the character does have short hair. But, yeah, so it's the beginning of one of the biggest things is the fact that we meet Ivo Jenner,
Mhm.
who is the other, he's kind of the villain of the book, sort of. I
Yeah.
mean, kind of Joyce too, but like he's there as like a someone we can blame for things that he didn't
Yes.
really do. And which I'm kind of I'm realizing that now he gets blamed for everything. But he is an ex-boxer and another owner of another gambling hell. And when Cravens burns down, Ivo is able to launch himself into having this huge, huge gambling hell. And we find that out because later, Ivo Jenner's daughter, Evie, that's when we get into Devil and Winter and Sebastian St. Vincent. He ends up, they end up taking over Ivo's and,
Mhm.
or Jenner's. And so I kind of want to mention I have the books in front of me because I just want because I love them so much. But some of the important ones are so there's a couple of series afterwards. So obviously, like there's a huge connection between this and the Ravenels because it ends up being like a wallflower just coming back together and like obviously
Next
there's all those
generation. Yeah.
yeah, and so those are like huge connections, but there's tiny connections in others. So in the Capitol Theater series, which is a two-series book, there is they're all actors, and I actually really highly recommend this series. But she does a monologue from Matilda.
Okay.
In it at the beginning. And then it's actually a 3-part book that's called Where's My Hero? And it's one of those where it's like Lisa Kleypas, Julia Quinn, and they all do their own. But there is a small novella that is a character from Bow Street Runners, but it's Lydia Craven, Derek and Sarah's daughter.
Yes.
And it is so, so good because they're all self-made now. She's a woman in STEM. She's a mathematician. She has all these patents out there. She is like,
Love it.
you kind of learn that the Cravens are people who just are born to make money. Like they are just born to make money and there's nothing they can do to stop
What's their
themselves.
secret? I need to know.
That really is like the heart of the plot of their novella is that Jake Lindley, the doctor, he wants to live poor and he's like, I can't marry a rich woman. It's so good. Basically, like it's like the Marvel extended universe.
Mhm.
It's all of them coming back together. The reason why I called it Matilda, obviously, is because that's the touchstone between all of them. But it also puts us in markers. I mean, we're gonna link it. I know that we
Yes.
are, but I have a post that I did with Jen Always Reading and Emily of Very Romance of where before I was on Bookstagram and before I knew how to get all of my neurotic energy out, I made a spreadsheet that was every Lisa Kleypas book and the years that is happening in them, where the connections are. And I also did this with Julia Quinn. I'm a psycho. And
We
so with
love
Julia
your
Quinn,
psycho tendencies.
I have ages and birthdays with Julia Quinn.
I love it.
Yeah, but so I had to get all this out and I even made I have family trees that I built, all this stuff. And I showed it all to Emily and she was like, "Evan, we need to make a post of this.
Yeah.
Like we need to make something of this." And it is like it's literally a dissertation of like I'm the Lisa Kleypas scholar. But yes, it goes through everything, but there's such a huge connection between all of them and I love that.
I
So
love it.
I know, it's just
Great.
like, I love this universe, and I love that I mean, this is Regency, and then she skips to Victorian
Yep.
and, like, just keeps going later, and I just love that about her.
Yeah.
Love her
It's great.
mom.
She's great. Well, I think that's a good place where we can leave it today. Thank you so much, Devan, for
So
chatting with me again. I mean, I could have kept going forever and ever, and I feel like we were
I
a little all
know.
over the place, but it's just
No,
there's
no, we
so
were
much.
perfect. The thing is, if you're gonna have me on here, you gotta be okay with things being all over the place. But I'm
I don't
like,
know.
I'm so
I don't know.
happy. I'm so happy to be here with you. I'm
Yeah.
like, because we did
We
this
did it.
together.
We did the thing. Yeah. No, it's so fun. So look at this. This is like part of your little legacy, Devin, is that now First Encounter exists. So
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna blush again.
I'm so glad you're here with me. Yeah. So everyone go check out again, the link is below. So look at that post on the Matildaverse because we love Devin's little psycho tendencies. They're great. They work in our favor. They help us out. I am sure in the future you'll be back to talk more, Lisa. We will do this.
I hope. Maybe, well, once you get through your one book a month, we'll
I'm just saying we can't do
uh it's
Lisa
so
over and
much.
over. I mean, we
Oh,
can,
yeah.
but there's
Uh-huh.
so many other books I gotta
Oh,
read
yeah.
because this is my own personal education. Thank you, everyone. Go read more Lisa Kleypas because she's great. We love her. She's a queen. She always has things in the book that made me go, "What?" But then I love them anyways because she's
I know,
so
she's
good.
crazy.
She's so good. So, anyways, all that to say, I now understand Derek Craven, and I am very grateful for it.
Mhm.
Everyone, have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week. Happy reading, happy listening, and enjoy. We'll see you again. Bye.